The elder tree offers so much more than its flowers and berries. It teaches patience, reciprocity, and respect for the cycles of nature. Through permaculture systems, we can honor the elder tree as an ecological ally, while herbalists continue its legacy as a healer. Spiritually, elder reminds us to be stewards of the land, to give back, and to recognize the wisdom all around us. Hello and welcome to the Permaculture Herbalism segment of the Elder Tree podcast. I am your host, Tonielle Christensen from Earth Mumma, where I teach people how to thrive and get skilled for sustainability. As an educator, kitchen witch, and plant lover, I welcome you to tune in as I interview permaculturalists from around the world. We will learn holistic ways of integrating plants into our homes, gardens, and communities for healing. Together, we will explore the art and science of this regenerative design system and harvest the collective wisdom. Permaculture offers a pathway to empower people to develop their lifestyles and landscapes. So let's discover how to grow and know plants with a purpose. The wise tree knows all seasons. The elder teaches us to embrace both growth and letting go. Hello and welcome to this episode, which is wholly and solely dedicated to the amazing plant, the elder tree. So our podcast is named after the elder tree, and hopefully by the time you've listened to this episode, you will have a deeper understanding as to why this plant can be such an ally to a herbalist's or a permaculturalist's home garden. And so specifically, what I wanted to share with you is obviously how to grow it and its ecosystem's function, so why it's an important plant to include into your garden, but also, more importantly, the herbal medicine aspect of it. So easy to make herbal remedies like elderflower tea, elderberry syrup, elderflower tincture, and an elderflower facial toner, as well as my favorite recipe that I have in my Incredible Edibles Tropical Superfoods book for the elderberry jam. So many parts of the tree are actually used from a herbal medicine perspective. However, what I wanted to share with you is its uses for the flowers and the berries. And of course, because it goes back so far in terms of its uses, there is a lot of folklore stories about this particular plant. So I want to share those with you as well. And I guess really importantly that there's two different species. And so what are the differences between them? So you would be able to identify them if you're out and about in the wild and doing some foraging, or if you wanted to specifically grow one in your climate, so you can pick the right kind of species for you. So I took a moment to ask Twiggy, the founder of the elder tree, why out of all of the plant allies would she pick the elder tree to be the name of the not-for-profit organization in which this podcast is one aspect of delivering services and bringing community together. And she gave me so many reasons. Of course, when she asked me to join the project, the name itself spoke to my heart because of my experiences and the relationship it has with my grandmother and the healing that I have received through working through the plant. So it was really insightful to hear what she had to say. And I wish that I could share her response via recording, but there was a lot of background noise. So I'm just going to summarize what she shared. And that is that the elder tree it's a master plant, and it's been used for so many generations and from all around the world, and it's traveled with people all around the world. And the elder tree, like, it holds that wisdom and the knowing of the elders and a deep respect for the elders. And throughout this episode, you're going to hear about the different folklores and the reverence and the uses, and that it is known to be a panacea for all ailments, and the fact that you can utilize all parts of the plants for healing and as medicine, but equally and as importantly, which is what I really want you to hear in this moment, is that it's also toxic. So if you prepare or you don't know how to prepare these plants in the correct way, then the medicine can actually be harmful. So yes, all of the constituents and its available medicine that can help us is there if we learn, if we take the time and we work with this plant and build a relationship to utilize her as an ally with deep respect. But equally to that, there is the potential to cause harm if prepared in the incorrect way and treated with disrespect. So what I share with you in this episode is a whole heap of really available, easy to make recipes. But again, this is just using the elderflower and the elderberries in a way where they're cooked. And when it comes to utilizing, say, the roots and the leaves and the stems and the bark, there are very special preparation ways. So I'm not providing any recipes for that because it requires a deeper learning and a more deeper relationship and understanding of herbal medicine than can be offered in this conversation. There's a little bonus story at the end of all of the juicy conversation in this episode. The elderflower heals with gentleness, while the elderberry strengthens with resolve. Both are gifts of great kindness to the body. This is a quote by Maud Grieve from The Modern Herbal, right back from 1931. It's such an incredible plant ally, and it's about wisdom and reciprocity, which I'll mention a few times, and where the surprise story at the end is the lesson in that. And the respect of the elder in terms of the plants and those allies, and the elders in terms of the people and the herbalists and permaculturalists within our Australian community and beyond, to consider the knowledge and wisdom and the medicine held within those allies, people and plants, and this being a cauldron and a space to continue sharing those stories and that knowledge in a beautiful and safe way. So let's get started. The elder tree, both the Sambucus nigra and Sambucus canadensis, is a rich plant with history, symbolism, and practical applications. Revered across cultures for its healing powers, spiritual significance, and ecological importance, the elder embodies the beautiful intersection of permaculture and herbalism. There is a saying that the elder is the medicine chest of the country people. It's a timeless saying that is deeply telling us that the elder tree is entwined with folk healing traditions. There's a poetic acknowledgement of the elder's diverse gifts that says, "In the cradling arms of the elder, we find health, nourishment, and wisdom." And there's a traditional belief that underscores the tree's role as a guardian, which is a house with an elder tree nearby is protected by nature herself. Okay, so within the two types, the Sambuca nigra, which is known as the European elder tree, and the Sambuca canadensis, which is known as the American elder or elderberry. They are both very incredibly valuable for herbal medicine, for wildlife, and within permaculture systems. And most often they're grown for their edible and medicinal berries, which can be enjoyed after proper cooking. And also their beautiful pollinator-friendly flowers, which are like these incredible little tiny white stars that kind of burst forth into a fractal of umbels. So they actually look like really big flowers, but when you zoom in and have a closer look, they're made up of all these tiny little star flowers. So be sure to check out my Instagram page because I'm sharing elderflowers all the time, and they're actually in season right now. It is December, and so over the wet season they grow, and they almost flower and fruit all year round, but they are particularly in flower at the moment. And so it's interesting how at this time of year, when our weather heats up and things are really humid, we have these beautiful flowers to make a nice cooling cordial and cool our system down. So the herbal medicine is right there ready for us. So there are some differences between both of these two types of elderberry, elder tree. So what I might do is just give you a summary of the differences, and I'll go through the height, the difference in leaves, the flowers, the berries, the growth habit, and its native range. So hopefully you can identify which one you want to grow, and also, where to find it if you're out and about in the wild. So the Sambucus nigra, the European elder, its height is 5 to 10 meters. So it's more like a tree-like form. And I've seen this in colder climates. I've seen it growing in Tasmania as well. Whereas the Sambucus canadensis, which is known as the American elder, this one grows really well in far north Queensland. So I would imagine in other subtropical and tropical areas, it would be the one to source and find. It's the only one I've seen grow up here, but it's 2 to 4 meters. So it's nowhere near as large as the Sambucus nigra. And it's more shrub-like and sprawling. So the difference, you can see one's more tree-like and the other one's more shrub-like. And then there's differences in the leaves as well. So the Sambucus nigra has dark green leaflets, and the Sambucus canadensis has bright green and elongated leaflets. So again, there's two different colors to help identify that within the leaves. And then the flowers are slightly different as well. They both still have those amazing kind of white to cream stars. But the Sambucus nigra, again, the bigger tree, the darker leaves, it has larger, fragrant umbel flowers. So they can range from 10 centimeters to 25 centimeters. So if you could imagine, 25 is almost the size of a ruler, is the expression of those amazing flowers. And then when it comes to the canadensis, the one you'll see if you visit my garden, the flowers they're slightly smaller umbels, and the aroma is less intense. But I'm still amazed. I still think they're so amazing. So I'm sure you will be able to tell the difference within the smell if you come across a European elder. And then the berries again, with the Sambucus nigra, you've got dark purple, black berries, and they're larger than the Sambucus canadensis, which are also the same color. So they'll look very, very similar. But again, a little bit smaller for the more tropical, I suppose, growing one. And then growth habit, the European elder grows upright, and it's got a very well-defined form, whereas the canadensis is more sprawling and it forms dense thicket. So it may be different. Like in Townsville, being the dry tropics, I noticed it just grew as a shrub, but in our tropical climate here in both Koa and Kuranda, anywhere where you've got more moisture, what it does is where it touches the ground, it will self-propagate, and it grows. New little shoots come up from the root system, so it is sprawling, and it will develop and expand once you put one in the ground. So when thinking of planting it, consider that fact that it's going to start, I guess, walking. It's going to get bigger and pop up in different places around the original plant, as opposed to the Sambucus nigra, which is going to grow upright like a large tree. And again, the native range for the European elder is obviously Europe, parts of Asia, and North Africa, whereas the Sambucus canadensis is natively from North America. However, because this plant is so useful, and because people have moved from these particular areas and moved to different parts of the world, they've taken this plant with them. So we're very fortunate to be able to have them included in our gardens here in Australia as well, and other parts of the world. So let's talk about growing an elder tree from a permaculture perspective. So in terms of its ecological benefits, it's a really great plant for attracting pollinators, because the elderflower clusters attract bees and beneficial insects. In my garden, I actually have a native beehive sitting underneath the elder tree, and it's so happy. It's been there. That hive has been there for about 4 years now, and it's still going strong. So it's always good to plant flowers for the bees so that they have fodder, but just that combination of the elder tree and the native hive means that there's the pollination of the rest of my garden is always fully supported. It's also a wildlife habitat. So birds, if you have an elder tree, you will notice that the birds are always feasting on the elderberries. And the birds help propagate the plant naturally as well. So they'll take the seeds and they'll drop them and they'll spread the seed. Not that I've noticed it being it's certainly not an invasive species in our area, but that is always a good thing to know. And the question did come up the other day. I ran a course, and the question of what do you not plant? Like, how do you know what to grow first? And in terms of introducing new plants into a garden, is there any kind of guidelines? And so, of course, with my book, I've got the top 32 plants that I recommend growing from a superfood perspective, that are easy to propagate, provide food readily, really quickly, and are something that grows very well in the tropics and the wet season. But again, they're not native plants. So they've been brought here from other climate analogs similar to the subtropics and our tropical climate. So from other countries and places where we have similar conditions that they can thrive in. And so we've got access to these incredible foods that we can eat for nourishment that also play a role in the ecosystem functions here. But in response to that answer, it's always plant natives first, because we know that they're true and tested, and our climates are able to fully support those plants without much effort, because it's the perfect kind of soil, sunlight, and I guess access to minerals that these native plants have really honed in and developed over a long period of time, so that they're not heavy feeders in the sense that they don't require extra fertilizers and extra care to really thrive in their native surroundings. And then from working with native plants, then you would want to choose trialed and tested plants. So ones that have been, I guess, over time naturalized and suit the climate really well and almost act like native plants. So then thirdly is introduced species. And with these ones, they're ones that you need to take particular care of observing and seeing how they're growing within the environment, your environment. And if they are becoming weedy or out of control, then you would remove them so that they don't become an invasive species or pest. So there is a scale of what to start with and, how to introduce these particular plants. And as I've explained, in terms of the difference between the canadensis and the Sambucus nigra, is that they have different growth patterns and they're going to suit different climates wherever you are. So tune into that and where you are in the world and how that would be useful. So in terms of growing with your site and soil, both prefer moist, well-drained soil rich in organic matter, and they thrive in both full sun to partial shade. And they can interestingly tolerate poor soil conditions, but of course, like most plants, they'll flourish with compost or mulch around them. When you want to propagate them and grow them further or gift them to other people, it's actually very easy to do. You just propagate through the hardwood cuttings, and you can generally take those in late winter or early spring. And you can either place the cuttings directly into soil where you want them to grow, or you can pop them into a pot, into nursery, and let them develop that way. I've even had success cutting them and putting them straight into some water and letting them root. See the roots come out through the glass jar with water in it, and then popping them either into the ground or into the nursery if they're going to be, travel and move on to somebody else's garden. But yeah, hardwood cuttings, meaning that when you see a plant, there's some softer green wood, which is closer to where all of the leaves and flowers are. If it's really bendy and it's a green wood, then that's not classed as the hardwood cutting. So you wouldn't use that part. You go further down the branch, and when you snip it with your secateurs, you'll see that there is it snaps. And interestingly, these plants have like a white plinth in the middle. So you've got the stem with the hardwood around the outside, and in the middle is white or a lighter color. And if you were to harvest that and let it dry, as in you're not going to propagate it and put it in soil and let roots grow and become another plant, if you leave it out in the sun and let it dry, then you can push that inner part out and make a flute. So this plant is also known to be a great material to make instruments and specifically flutes with. But yeah, we've talked about the ecological benefits, how to propagate it, and the soil and sun requirements. In terms of its use, so we're always wanting to encourage a polycultural environment within a permaculture system, not a monoculture. So don't go out and grow nothing but elder tree or elderberries. What you want to do is integrate it into a food forest or in hedgerows, or another saying we have is a fedge, which is a combination of a food hedge. And so that's great to create privacy or use along a fence line. In some areas, you can use it in riparian zones, and particularly if you're using a European elder, so the big tree version, the Sambucus nigra, riparian zones would be fine. I would recommend not to put it in a riparian zone if you are using the Sambucus canadensis in a very wet climate like the tropics. It will grow new roots and pop up and spread. So it might be, in terms of what I said, and when it comes to choosing what to plant, The elder tree is that third phase of it's an introduced species, and in some situations it has capacity to self-propagate. So it could become problematic if you're in a really wet area, and being that a riparian zone is usually in someone's zone 3 to 4, could be a zone 5 if you were to go and just plop the plant out in the wild. That could be irresponsible. So just consider that, keeping it within your zone 1, 2, and 3 and away from really wet, watery zones. And then companion plant wise, I think it's great to plant with comfrey because it's comfrey and elder tree actually are great as for composting. So the comfrey is nutrient miner, and its leaves just have so much, so many minerals in it that it's mined up from underneath from the ground, the soil. So that's one part of it. So you could easily just go harvest comfrey and elder tree at the same time and carry it over to your compost pile to utilize as material. But because of the stems that I said can become hollow easily in the center, they can be chopped up into smaller pieces about the size of a finger, no thicker and no longer. It is such a great ingredient. So again, if you cut it up and use it green, then you've got a nitrogen layer in your compost pile. If you let it dry, then you've got a carbon layer. But essentially it breaks down, and because of the little holes in its carbon action, it's just a really great additive to pop into your compost. And again, obtaining a yield being one of our permaculture principles, you can harvest the flowers, the berries, the wood, and the leaves, which all have uses in food, medicine, and crafts. So when it comes to the herbal wisdom of elder, it has been used for centuries to treat ailments and promote wellness. And that's mainly through the elderflowers and elderberries because they have the primary components used in herbalism. So let's start with the elderflowers. The uses are for anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, and diaphoretic, which is encouraging sweating. Commonly best for colds, sinus congestion, fevers, if you're wanting to encourage the sweating when you have a fever to bring out whatever virus is happening, and for skin inflammation, which is why the elderflower is used to make a really beautiful tonic for your skin. And when it comes to the elderberries, their uses are for immune boosting, antiviral, and antioxidant, and they're best used for treating and preventing colds, flu, and boosting overall immunity. So when it comes to the elderberries, you'll see the elderflowers, and then the flowers will fall off, and you'll see the berries starting to form. They start out little and green, and then they grow. When they're ripe, they're the dark purple to black. And whilst the birds come and eat them, the berries readily, it's not ideal to eat many of them fresh. You could get stomach upsets. However, as soon as you apply heat and you cook the elderberries, they're fantastic for the medicinal qualities. And the elderberry syrup in particular, you've probably seen now at the pharmacy you can buy elderberry lozenges and syrups. You can make it yourself at home, and I'll give you that recipe very shortly. But that's used as an immune booster. And there's a little trick of the trade when you're making anything when it comes to the elderberries. So I learnt earlier on that it is really hard to harvest the elderberries when they're picked fresh from the vine, because they're all attached to those umbrels that come out, and you can use a fork to flick them off, to pull them off from the stems of the umbel. But they go everywhere because they're these tiny little, well, small little balls, and they're soft, and you just get elderberry juice everywhere. So a wise elder once showed me to, first of all, when they turn to berries in the garden, I just chop them with some secateurs or scissors and put them into a bag and pop them straight into the freezer. And over time, as the flowers develop into berries, you can keep doing that, because you'll notice on the tree, they're not all berries at the same time. You'll have some flowers and some berries all forming over different maturity, different times. So as they're ready to harvest, keep adding them to the bag in the freezer. And then once the bag is full and big enough, and you've got enough in quantity to make your elderberry syrup or your elderberry jam, then it's much easier. You'll obviously have a bowl or a container to catch the berries in, but you can use the fork that I mentioned. But because they're hard, because they've been frozen, they've got a bit of weight to them, and you can direct them into the bowl without squashing them and getting the juice everywhere, which happens when they're fresh. So it's just a little tip of the trade, is to freeze the berries first to make it really easy in terms of the preparation of getting the berries ready and available. So I think let's start with that recipe, the elderberry syrup for immune boosting. So you can start with 1 cup of dried elderberries, 4 cups of water, and 1 cup of honey. So basically, the quantity of elderberries to the quantity of honey is 1 to 1. And then the water aspect is 4 to 1. So you can add extra things like ginger, cinnamon, and cloves as well. And it's as simple as simmering the elderberries with the water for 45 minutes. And then you strain the berries out, so you've just got that liquid. And then you let it cool down, because you don't want to mix honey when it's too hot. So you add the honey once it starts cooling down. It's still warm, so the honey melts into it. And then you can store it in a sterilized jar in the fridge. And as far as dosage goes, 1 tablespoon daily for immunity, and you can increase that up to 3 tablespoons if you're dealing with any illness. Now, I make this every year, and it's in our fridge, taking up space. It's got valuable space in there. I do store it in an amber glass jar, because it just helps, no sunlight can get in, and it just helps preserve it for longer. Is generally all gone by the end of the cold season over winter anyway. But I made this when COVID was around and everyone was dealing with this flu that was a little bit intense than other flus at different times. And so it was amazing. We all bounced back. We didn't deal with any of the side effects. We chose not to be vaccinated and to lean on these particular herbal remedies that we grew in our garden, obviously organically and prepared by us. And so our flu lasted for 4 to 5 days, and then we were back on track. And I just think it's such an incredible ally to have on our sides. Our children love the taste of it, so it's not exactly a medicine that they complain about taking. If anything, it's stopping them from overusing it, because it's there for its medicinal reasons, not because it's so yummy. But if you have enough elder trees, like I personally think that if you can let them develop, you're going to get a really incredible medicine out of utilizing the elderberries. However, you can use the flowers prior to them turning into the berries and make a lovely elderflower tea. So with the ingredients for that, you just need 2 teaspoons of dried elderflowers in 1 cup of hot water, and just steep it for 10 minutes, strain it, sip it if you've got a cold or you need something soothing for your throat. It helps reduce fevers, clears nasal congestion, and calms the nerves. And quite easily to follow on from making the elderflower tea, you can make the elderflower facial toner, which is also cooling and soothing for the skin. So that's simply as easy as brewing the elderflower tea, allowing it to cool, and then using it as a gentle facial rinse if you've got any inflammation or any sensitive skin. I'm going to share with you my special elderflower and kaffir lime iced tea. So this one you can make with the fresh elderflowers. The elderflower tea recipe I just gave you is if you have prepared some dried elderflowers, but most of the time I just pick fresh from the garden. I don't go to the effort of drying them. So here's a recipe where you can harvest 10 of the elderflower heads, which is the full umbrals, and add 10 mature kaffir lime leaves, all finely sliced up, 250 grams of raw sugar or your favorite sugar, 2 lemons, which if you grate the rind, so the skin off the lemons, and also juice the lemons, and then 1 liter of water. And that will make enough for 8 to 10 people. And believe me, you want to make this much because everybody loves it so much. So it's as easy as boiling the water in a large saucepan and adding the sugar first so that it all mixes in. Then add the lemon rind and the lemon juice once that sugar is dissolved. And then you submerge the elderflower heads upside down into the water and add the kaffir lime leaves. Then turn the heat off and leave it overnight. So what this does, it allows the ingredients to steep for at least 24 hours, and the warmth of the water. So you don't want to keep boiling it. So you just add the elderflowers and the kaffir lime, turn off the heat, and then leave overnight. And then the next day, you can strain through a sterilized cheesecloth so that you can squeeze out all of the goodness and separate all of the old softened flowers and the leaves now. And then you've got like a clear, fragrant liquid, almost like a syrup, but not overly thick. And then you can store that in the fridge and serve with ice, have it nicely iced. You could heat it up and drink it warm, but it's particularly nice in summer with ice, and you can garnish it with a few star flowers in there for some presentation. Yeah, and it's just super delicious. Another thing you can do is if you've got some leftovers, pop it into some ice trays and make ice blocks so that you can use them, blend them even, the ice, and have a frozen elderflower and kaffir lime tea. And then the final recipe is the elderflower tincture. So if you're really into herbal medicine and you want to try tincture making, where this is a medicine that you can preserve for longer than any of the other recipes. The elderberry syrup does last a long time, but you need to keep it in the fridge. Because it's got the honey in it and there's obviously sugars in the berries themselves, if you left it out of the fridge, it would continue to ferment and turn into a champagne, which is delicious as well. But you need to be prepared for that and releasing the lid so that the jar or the container doesn't burst because of the buildup of air inside of it. So the elderflower tincture, again, just uses the elderflowers and then something like a vodka or a brandy as the alcohol. And it's as simple as filling the jar with the elderflowers, covering with the alcohol of choice, sealing, and then letting it steep for 4 to 6 weeks in a dark place without sunlight entering it, and then strain and store it. And for that, you can utilize it with a few drops under your tongue if you have sinus infections, fevers, or you need a gentle calming remedy. But again, the elderflower tea could be utilized in that way as well if you didn't want to go down the route of making a tincture and using alcohol. And the elderflower tea is much safer for children to utilize and for elderly people to utilize. So my elderberry jam recipe. This is so delicious. You just use equal parts of elderberries to sugar. So it depends on how much you have to how much jam you could make in terms of the berries that you have harvested. And then grating in ginger, some ground nutmeg, and allspice to taste is a little bit of extra yumminess and depth to the flavor. And then you can use like a apple pectin or arrowroot flour to thicken as you desire. So you could have the jam as a bit more saucy, or you can thicken it and have it as a spreadable jam. So of course, sterilize your jars first if you're wanting to preserve and store them for a little bit longer for safety reasons. And as I said before, you're using the fork to comb the frozen berries off the umbrella stalks and put it into a large bowl. From the stem towards the berry is the most successful way to get them off, because this process is finicky and it can take the most time in the whole process. So put on some music, be present and enjoy the moment, and it's always fun to do with others as well. You might find that the berries may fling out of the bowl, so just pick them up straight away while they're frozen, otherwise you'll get berry juice everywhere. So once you've got all of your frozen berries into the bowl, you can weigh the bowl so that you know your quantity, and you can add the sugar to match that. So 1-to-1 sugar quantity to berry weight, and then blend the berries to break them up, but you don't want to pulverize them. And then place in a large jam pot and bring to the boil. So the sugar and the berries and the spices all mixed together. When it boils, reduce to a low simmer until the liquid reduces, and then add your choice of thickener to this to set the jam. So each of depending on the jam setting that you utilize, it will have instructions. So just follow that in terms of your choice of jam setting. And then turn off the heat, fill the jam into those sterilized jars that you've already prepared, and then label, store, or eat straight away. So this recipe we love to enjoy on damper, and it's great to store so that you can eat during winter, which is the time that you want to really enjoy the increased immunity and the high vitamin C aspect in the flu season. Within every elderberry, there lies a world of healing. A quote by Susan Weed, herbalist and author. So the elder tree, well, the berries themselves have vitamins A, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, vitamin C, and H, which is biotin. Its mineral profile is it provides calcium, magnesium, iron, phosphorus, sulfur, copper, potassium, and all essential amino acids. So we can utilize those benefits for our own health and well-being, and also consider that if we add it back into compost or the landscape, it's also feeding our immediate environment with all of those benefits as well. So I have mentioned that every part of the tree was used, and in several herbal writers say that there is hardly disease from head to foot that it would not cure. It was called a holy tree capable of restoring health and an aid to longevity. The roots of the tree were used for dropsy, kidney ailments, and to stimulate the lymphatic system. The bark of mature trees, or the mature branches of the trees, was powdered and infused in wine to treat and prevent epilepsy. That's a very interesting one. The leaves were used or infused to help with anything skin related, so skin itches, rashes, ringworm, and eye diseases. And the flowers, as already mentioned, valued for coughs, colds, respiratory infections, induced sweating, arthritic pain, and for the nervous system as a calmative. And the berries were often used for anemia, sore throats, coughs, tonsillitis, and as a laxative, especially if you eat some that are not cooked. The berries were eaten to increase the production of red blood cells, to aid in circulation and strengthen blood capillaries. Being rich in vitamin C, the berries are used as a health tonic. Recent scientific research found that elderberries have a powerful flavonoids in them, which inhibit the ability of the flu virus to enter cells and infect the body. Value elderberry as a strong immune strengthening herb. Culinary uses. You can make delicious pies with elderberry like you would with mulberry or other berries. You can sweeten them with some sugar or honey, thicken them with arrowroot, and set into a pie flan. Of course, you can make them into jams, as mentioned, jellies, cakes, wines, and dry them so that you could use them like currants in a cake. For a garden spray to kill aphids and caterpillars, you can make a decoction of the leaves, and this spray can also be used to repel mosquitoes and flies. Even crushing the fresh leaves in the hands and rubbing on the arms and legs when working outside can help ward off insects as well. Elderberry has been of service to people dyeing wool and cloth, and the bark established trees provide black dye. Roots and leaves with alum give a green dye, and the berries obviously provide the purple-blue color. Plants speak to those who listen. The elder, in particular, has a voice that echoes through generations of healing. That's a quote by Matthew Wood from the Earthwise Herbal. It does hold a deep spiritual symbolism and is considered as a sacred tree in many traditions. So it's known as a tree of protection. And many say that planting an elder tree near the home was believed to protect the household from evil spirits and misfortune. And Isabel Shepherd says in her book that men or gentlemen would never pass an elderberry tree without taking their hat off and acknowledging it, which is really cute and special. In Norse mythology, the elder was associated with the goddess Freya, she was known as the guardian of fertility and love. Another folklore aspect is that it's known as it's often called the tree of the crone, which symbolizes wisdom, endings, and cycles of life. And in Celtic traditions, the elder was revered as a portal between worlds, offering guidance from ancestors and spirits. So one could sit underneath of an elder tree and commune. There is an onus or a way of working with this tree, which is giving back to the tree, because folklore belief suggests that before harvesting from an elder, one must ask permission. And it would be something like, especially back in those days, "Lady Elder, give me thy wood, and I will give thee mine when I grow into a tree." This practice is all about emphasizes reciprocity with nature, which is a foundational permaculture principle. Now, of course, you don't need to use that old language, but with all trees and harvesting, it's always good to be present and take a moment to even just inform the tree. Like I said before, it's a great ingredient for compost. So before going and just hacking away at it, just take a moment to honor and let the tree know, "I'm going to use you for compost because you're so amazing at it. Thank you for everything that you give. I'm going to cut you now and turn you into compost so that you can nourish the rest of the trees in the garden." Something as simple as that, but you can use your own words as long as it's heartfelt and from you. The elder tree is the tree of beginnings and endings. It teaches us that death is not an end, but a doorway to transformation. This is a saying through Celtic tree lore. So it's known that the elder embodies the balance of life and death, Its flowers signify rebirth and renewal, while its dark berries represent protection and nourishment. The elder trees were seen as a gateway to the spirit realm, and people would avoid cutting the elder unnecessarily, fearing misfortune or angering its spirit. So take what you want from that. But it just goes to show that apart from its very practical uses, there is a deeper understanding of its symbolism and its lessons that it can teach us on a spiritual level. Elder is a portal between life and death, between what is seen and unseen, between the physical and the spiritual. This is a quote by Glennie Kindred, the author of Tree Wisdom. So I hope those recipes have inspired for you to grow the plants and to perhaps harvest them if you don't grow them yourself, and to get out there and just try the recipes and give it a go. So there is the transcript, so you could get the how-to of what I've shared in this episode in text to make those recipes. You could also grab them out of my book as well. That's available from my website. Elder is the wise grandmother of the hedgerow, offering protection, medicine, and guidance to those who honor her. A quote by Juliet Blankspoor, herbalist and author of Cultivating Medicinal Herbs. So to end this episode today, I just wanted to share a little extra bonus story just to really summarize and to, I guess, to share the final bit of information through the power of story. So if you're driving a car and listening to this, maybe pull over or pause and wait until you can fully relax into your seat and just be drifted away into the words of the story and relax and receive the tale of the elder mother. Once upon a time, in an ancient village nestled at the edge of a dense forest, there stood a magnificent elder tree. Its branches twisted and turned like the arms of an old woman reaching toward the sky. The villagers revered this tree, for they knew it was no ordinary plant. It was said to be the home of the Elder Mother, a wise and mystical spirit who guarded the forest and all who lived within it. The Elder Mother was a keeper of both life and death. She was kind, yet stern, offering her wisdom to those who approached with reverence, but quick to punish those who acted out of greed or carelessness. The people of the village believed that the elder tree connected the realms of the living and the dead, for its roots burrowed deep into the earth, while its fragrant white flowers reached for the heavens. One spring, a young girl named Elspeth wandered into the forest, following the sweet scent of elderflowers. She carried a small woven basket, hoping to gather blossoms for her ailing grandmother, who believed elder tea could bring relief to the lungs and a renewed spirit. Elspeth approached the great elder tree and, remembering her grandmother's words, whispered, "With your blessing, elder mother, may I take some of your flowers to heal my kin?" The forest hushed, and for a moment, even the birds seemed to hold their breath. Then, the leaves of the elder tree rustled gently as if sighing in approval. Carefully, Elspeth picked only a few blossoms from each cluster, leaving more than she took, for it was said that the elder mother watched over those who honored the balance of nature. As she turned to leave, a faint voice echoed in her ears, soft and wise like the wind through the branches. "Take what you need, but remember, always give back." Elspeth nodded solemnly and hurried home. She brewed the elderflower tea for her grandmother, who drank it gratefully, her cheeks soon blooming with colour. The villagers marvelled at the elder tree's healing gifts, but Elspeth never forgot the elder mother's warning. Years later, a greedy woodcutter arrived in the village. He scoffed at the villagers' tales of the elder mother, dismissing their warnings as foolish superstition. Seeing the elder tree's strong branches and aged wood, he thought, "This will fetch me a fine price in the market." Without offering a word of respect, he set his axe against the tree. As the blade struck the bark, a piercing wail erupted from the forest, chilling him to the bone. The earth trembled, the sky darkened, and a storm rose as if summoned by unseen hands. The woodcutter stumbled back, terrified, as the elder mother's voice thundered through the trees. "Those who harm me harm themselves." The next day, the woodcutter fell ill with a fever no healer could cure. His dreams were haunted by the elder mother, her eyes like deep wells of sorrow. He awoke, repentant, and crawled back to the elder tree, where he whispered his apology and left an offering of bread, milk, and wildflowers beneath its branches. Slowly, his fever faded, and he swore never to harm another elder tree again. From that day forward, the villagers renewed their respect for the elder tree, remembering it as a sacred bridge between the worlds, life and death, earth and sky. Its flowers brought healing, its berries provided nourishment, and its branches offered shelter. Mothers told their children the story of the elder mother, reminding them to always ask for permission before taking and to give thanks for nature's gifts. Elspeth grew into a wise woman known for her elderberry syrups and healing teas. Whenever someone fell ill, they came to her for remedy steeped in the elder's magic. She would always remind them, "The elder gives freely, but we must care for her in return." If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody else who you think would benefit from hearing these words. We offer this as a gift to our community and do it on a volunteer basis. So if you found value in it, please click the link to leave us a CUPPA. That helps us refill and to continue giving into this work. And at the end of the day, please reach out and leave a message. We'd love to hear from you. May the elder bless your health, nourish your spirit, and inspire a deeper connection to the land. As an extra bonus of this episode, I would love to gift a copy of the Incredible Edibles Tropical Superfoods Guide that I wrote, which includes both of those recipes of the elderberry jam and the elderflower and kaffir lime cordial, to somebody who is supporting us. So within this next moon cycle, from first quarter moon to my next episode, where I will let the winner know, I invite you to either join us as a Patreon or buy us a cuppa via the link in our podcast. These two ways are really amazing ways that you can support us, and could be at any time throughout the month. So you've got 4 episodes per month. You can enjoy this one as well as the other gifts our team are presenting on every first quarter, full moon, third quarter, and new moon. So good luck and thanks for your support. Well, that's a wrap for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please share it now with someone you know will benefit from this information. And remember, we're not just talking about change, we are cultivating it. Through these conversations and through the Elder Tree Patreon community, together we are sowing the seeds for an education center and healing sanctuary. You can unlock access to our treasure trove of wisdom via our Patreon, so you can do that in the show notes below or from our website. Please subscribe now and leave us a review. It really helps the bots share our podcast with the world, and your support ensures that this podcast and our vision can thrive. To grow them is to know them is to use them is to love them, and then happily herbs become your way of life. May you be blessed with good health and many plants.